what's up guys? Joker here, and welcome to my performance review for Mad Max on the PC. I just picked up the game tonight, and I was playing it for you guys on stream, did the countdown to the game. It was a lot of fun over on Twitch. Thanks to everyone that came and hung out for that. But I do want to bring you guys my performance review day one here, so you guys can help, have a better buying decision if you want to know how this game is going to run on your system before you go ahead and pick it up. So for the purposes of testing in this, I had it testing on my main system and my test system. So on my main test system, if you guys know my spec, I got two 980 Ti's and SLI. I game on a 1440p monitor, and I have an i7-5820K processor. So I tested it at 1440p and SLI on that system, as well as 1080p with a single 980 Ti and 1440p with the single 980 Ti. And then over on the Skylake test system, where I have an i5-6600K and a GTX 970, a single 970, I tested it at 1080, 1440, and just for shits and giggles, since I was on the test system, I threw it up to 4K on the 970 just to see what would happen. I was pretty surprised with the results, and we'll get into that in just a bit. But like I do in all of my performance reviews, first we got to go ahead and jump into the options menu and see how the port quality is concerned as far as the amount of options that Avalanche and WB have given us here on Mad Max. So let's go ahead and switch over now and take a look at the options menu. Alright, so here we are now in the menu for the game. Let's go ahead and jump straight into the settings. If we come up to game, you can see we do have the option for subtitles and tutorials in here. Going down to control, we have options for mouse sensitivity, vibration. You can invert the axis if you want on the controller, and you can also come into the button mappings for the controller, although you really can't change much in here besides switching between the standard and alternative controls, which just swaps around the right bumper and B button. I would have liked to have seen more customization in here because it does have kind of an odd button configuration using left and right bumper in here for aiming and shooting. That should have been on the triggers in my opinion, because I mean, triggers for shooting makes sense. Pretty much every game uses the triggers on an Xbox controller, so it's a bit weird that they're using the bumpers here in this particular setup, and jumping on left trigger, also kind of an odd one. That would normally be on like A or something, so really weird button layout on the controller in my personal opinion. And a controller is something I would use for a game like this, like in Batman Shadow of Mordor, or a game like this. This is the kind of game where I'm going to use a controller. If we come over to audio setup, you can see we do have the option here to go between headphones, Fury, night mode. I don't know what Fury is. I don't know. It's like the Treyarch mix or something, I guess. I don't know. But TV and theater as well. So theater, TV, headphones, Fury. I don't know. Maybe AMD paid them off. Who knows? And then finally, night mode. Yeah, maybe that's an AMD-specific audio technology. Possibly. AMD confirmed, I'd say. Coming down from here, we do have the music. I can't get out of that. Okay. Yeah, it's really weird. To go in between the options, like, instead of just going down to it and then, moving it, you actually have to go to it, press A, and then adjust it, which is really weird in my opinion. Like, everything you have to go to, you have to go A and then do it. Optimized for speakers, they do have options for stereo 5.1 and 7.1 support, so it's nice that you can switch between those. I like seeing those options there, and the ability to switch between different audio setups that are admittedly better than what I saw in Black Ops 3, having that Treyarch mix and that super crunch and all those other ones that I didn't know what they were. I mean, they have the one in here, the Fury and Night mode as well, but this is... This is good. This is good enough for me. I'm happy that I've got a headphone mode as well as a speaker mode. I'm sorted as far as I'm concerned, and I think it's good. Coming down, there is a gamma option here, and finally the graphics options, the good stuff in here. I don't know why this keeps resetting this and saying like 23 hertz. It's not running at 23 hertz. I assure you, it's running at 144 hertz. I'll put it back up here again, but it keeps like resetting. I don't know why it's doing that. I'll just preset it right there, and see, it didn't even flash black, so I know it's actually on. Again, I keep forgetting, when you click on it, I gotta press B to go back and not just go down to the next one. So we do have full screen on in here. Resolution does go all the way up to 4K support, and it has 144 hertz support as well. VSync on or off. Anisotropic filtering goes all the way up to 16 times. Geometric detail, this goes all the way to max. Some of these options go all the way up to max, others don't. I like that though. It's kind of a nice little, it's max settings and it's Mad Max, so yeah, it's running at Mad Max settings. But they go all the way from normal, high, very high, ultra high, and Mad Max, so a decent range of graphics options there for some of these options, being able to do like 5 different levels of detail. Definitely, if you're having, maybe issues running this game, there are probably options you can come in here and adjust and get the game to run well on your system, because there are a ton of graphics options. So let's go in. Oh, I accidentally closed out of that. Let's go in and look at the rest. So after geometric detail, we've got shadow resolution, and everything in here is on the highest. Number of shadowed lights, texture detail, decals, motion blur. I do have that off because I just personally don't like motion blur, and when you're recording, it does not look great in my opinion. Soft particles on. These just are on and off toggles. SSAO, so we got ambient occlusion, point light specular, anti-aliasing. Oh, just an on or off. Why isn't there a slider? Why isn't there different modes? Come on, guys. FXA, MSAA, SMAA. Give it to me. Give it all to me. I want all of the anti-aliasing options, not just on or off. I want all the options, not just on or off. Come on, developers, pay attention. This is what we want. This is what I want anyway. I hope that's what you guys want. Parallax mapping on terrain, fog particle upsampling quality, depth of field quality. This I'm kind of unsure about in the game. I mean, sometimes it's a bit strong, it's a bit harsh. I might consider turning that off at some point, although I do like the depth of field in the cutscenes. It looks really good, but sometimes running around in the game world, I find it gets in the way of me enjoying the visuals of the game. Volumetric light quality, heat haze. Oh, no, we can go down further. We keep going. This keeps going. Bloom, landscape debris, and that's the last one, and that goes all the way up to max, the Mad Max Fury Road max setting. So that is all of the graphics options in there, and let's go ahead and switch back over to me for the rest of the video. Ta-ra. So as you can see there, a really robust set of options in there for video and audio. The controls are a little bit disappointing, but it is what it is playing with a controller. It's not like other games really have fully remappable buttons on controllers, so I can't really hold it against them too much, but there were some odd decisions there with the button mappings, especially for the gun and aiming. Not a big fan of that. Wish I could change that to the triggers like I said in there. But, it is what it is. Other than that, really good options menu. A lot of graphics options for us to go through. So really just happy to see that. And happy to see that on this game from WB for the follow-up from what happened with Dark Knight. So let's talk about the performance that we saw on the system, running the game completely maxed out to the full hilt, max settings on everything, with the settings up at the max, the furious Mad Max. Ooh, yeah. So the Mad Max settings running maxed out. So on the 980 Ti's and SLI running at 1440p, scaling was okay. Now, the thing is, both cards were topping out at around 60% usage. They never really went much over that. And I was getting, it's not like I wasn't getting bad frames. I was getting really good frames. I was pretty much getting a solid 144 most of the time. Sometimes that did dip down to like 120 to 110 area. But for the most part, it was up around 144, even in some of the larger open areas of the game. Now, I wish it would have scaled better as far as, just using like 90% plus usage on each card, considering I did have VSync off, but it just wasn't going very far north of like 140 to 144 range. So kind of odd to see that. When I did switch over to the single 980 Ti, it did max that out at 99% usage, and at 1440p, I was actually still getting up around 120 to 130 frames on one 980 Ti. So SLI performance is not great right now on this game. I would like to see these SLI profiles get matured a little bit and have maybe NVIDIA release an update to this. I was running on the latest NVIDIA driver that just came out the day before today. The new patch, the driver for Mad Max and Metal Gear Solid. So I was running that, and this SLI scaling just not great because the single 980 Ti was pretty much matching two cards on, basically on its own. So that's kind of disappointing to see. And at 1080p on the single 980 Ti where I tested it, I was getting up around like 160 to 180 frames. So single 980 Ti is just absolutely crushing this game at 1080. It's complete overkill and unnecessary. So I switched over to the test system because I was curious how this would run on the mid-range side of things with a GTX 970, or I don't know, I consider a 970 to be kind of like mid-range. I don't know about you guys. I know some people might, that's kind of like a high-end card-ish, I guess. But it really performed exceptionally well in this game because the game is, besides the SLI scaling, really well optimized. The 970 at 1080p was getting around 110 to 125 frames. So just, hit my mic there. Absolutely killing it at 1080p. So if you're running a 970, you're going to have no issues playing this game. I would be willing to say a 960 as well. You're not going to really have any issues running this game because video memory wise, I was only seeing at 1080p around 1.2 to 1.4 gigabytes being used at any one time. So a 970 is just more than good enough to run this game. So it's pretty impressive to see what Avalanche has done there as far as the video memory is concerned, because this game looks as good or better than Shadow of Mordor in some respects. And that game, you know, was famous for using almost up to 6 gigabytes of VRAM, you know, on the highest settings. At 1440p, it was using about 1.6 gigabytes of VRAM, and at 4K, it was at 2.4 gigabytes. But back over to the 970, at 1440p, it was getting around 75 to 85 FPS. So even at 1440p, a single GTX 970 is handling Mad Max no issues at all. It's not going below 70. 7 would be like the bottom line. You know, that's pretty much it during a really, really taxing scene. But a 970 is going to handle this game fine. No worries whatsoever at 1440p. So if you're wondering that, just get it. Don't worry about it. You're going to be able to max this game out to the fucking hilt. No worries whatsoever. Now, I did jump it up to 4K on the 970 with the test rig on Skylake, just to see what it can do, because I was curious. Since the VRAM requirements weren't that high, I wanted to see how the 970 could handle it. And surprisingly, it was getting around 40 to 45 FPS on the 970, which is pretty damn good. I mean, I see some games with a 980 Ti getting that at 4K, so for a 970 to be crushing this game at 4K at around 40 to 45 FPS, if you were running a 970 SLI rig, you could definitely go ahead and just crank up downsampling, you know, to be at 4K, so you can just have like really ridiculous uber sampling, and you'd probably be getting north of 60 frames. If you had two 970s in SLI, that is. One 970, it's going to struggle a bit. I mean, it's 40 to 45 FPS. It's still playable, but it's not the solid 60. So in that case, I would go with like 1440, upscale it to 1440, using like DSR or VSR, depending on if you're running NVIDIA or AMD. I didn't have an AMD card to test for this, so it is what it is. We're sticking with NVIDIA. And just really quick to touch on those graphics, like I said, they are really, really nice in this game. Really impressed with the lighting, shadows, some of the physical like aspects of the sand. When you're walking through the sand, it does make perpetual footsteps that go throughout the world and seem to stay there for a decent amount of time. I was driving around in the car, it makes tire tracks, and, you know, I was doing donuts in the sand. It was a lot of fun, and that was leaving tracks in the sand, and they seem to stay there, you know, persistently for quite a while. So that was pretty impressive. And it looks great, like I said, and only using like 1.6, 1.7 gig of VRAM at 1440 for me on the 980 Ti's, as well as the 970, and, you know, around 1.2 to 1.4 at 1080. So video memory is really not an issue with this game, which makes it kind of a head scratcher as to why they were recommending a 3 gigabyte card on the recommended system requirements, because this game does not need a 3 gigabyte card unless you're looking to run it at 4K. That's really about it. And even then, it's only like like I said, about 2.4, 2.5 gigabyte at 4K. So really well optimized as far as that video memory is concerned. And it does have good textures. The textures on the character models are excellent. Some of the ones in the world, like on the ground and stuff, aren't amazing, but the textures on the character models look absolutely amazing on Max and the other characters in the world. And I like the voice acting as well from some of the other characters in the world. Max is a little bit kind of flat and stale, but the other ones are better. But that'll be for my final review on the game when I do get around to doing that and talking about the gameplay and all that stuff. So I'm going to get out of here now, guys, because I still have to review Metal Gear Solid 5 tonight, which is now done downloading, and I got to edit this before I could play that. So it's going to be a late night here at Joker Productions, and I hope you guys enjoy this video and the Metal Gear Solid coverage that I'm going to be bringing you guys today. So stick a big thumbs up on this video and comment, show me your support, that you appreciate me doing this content and working hard for you guys, because I love doing it. And I'll catch you guys next time. Ta-ra.